The last section of any research paper is the discussion section. And this is by far the most interesting and most important part of your thesis. I'm stressing this because it is my experience that this fact is usually not reflected in thesis. It's often the theoretical background and maybe the results that are overly lengthy, and the discussion then is extremely short. And this is a problem, because we really want to show what we have done, we really want to generate new knowledge, and that is what is being done in the discussion section. The results, which present novel information, are mixed, are put into discussion with our theoretical understanding. And hence, through this discussion, we generate new knowledge. So let me just reiterate here, because this is so important. What is the discussion section and what or who are discussing here? It's on the one hand, it's the theory. What was your expectation in the beginning? What does the literature say in terms of theories? What does the literature say in terms of previous empirical findings? And you contrast this with your empirical findings, with your observations. Your results are the second partner of this discussion. So theory said that, your empirical data say that. And that's a discussion. This can be sometimes a very short discussion because both views are in agreement. You expected a negative finding, and you do find a negative finding. Well, then that's basically the end of the discussion for this particular point, because everything has already been stated in the theoretical background. But there might also be a mismatch. You think there's a negative effect, but in reality, you see a positive effect in your data. If that happens, that's extremely exciting, because then you need to discuss what could be an explanation for that. And this is more of a creative task, I would say. You are of course bound by the limitations of good science, but you are invited to brainstorm here and to give some reasonable reasons for that. Let me help you structure your thoughts a bit. There can be two major strands of directions that you think about. One is that there might be an alternative theory that explains it. So you said, for instance, there will be a negative effect. That was your hypothesis. But your data shows there is no negative effect. So maybe there's some other theory that would have predicted that. Maybe there's some other factor that's really strong that has been overlooked in this research. And then you can discuss this in your model. Then you can add maybe a few references and also advise what could be done to actually solve this problem in the future. So you generate a new hypothesis to be answered in new research that is not part of your thesis. A second strand of thought can be related to methodological issues. All the previous studies have reported positive findings. You report negative findings, for instance. What could be the reasons? Well, maybe you measured two concepts slightly differently. Maybe you asked a very specific population. There can be many things that influence your findings. Your job is to outline this and to be transparent. And again, offer a hypothesis of what kind of variable maybe plays a role that previously hasn't been studied, and thus you generate a new avenue for research.